All right. It has been a few years. Shannon Joy, thank you for joining me in the trenches.
I'm so glad to be here, and pardon my voice, a little bit under the weather, but I'm going to power through. I'm so glad to be here with you.
Well, the feeling's mutual. You know, when you and I last chatted, it was a few years ago. We were in the thick of the sort of COVID psyop. So much has changed since then, and yet also so much hasn't changed.
Absolutely. I mean, here in the United States of America, we had an election and installed a president who half of the country, including the medical freedom movement, thought was going to be the solution to the tyranny of 2021 through 2024 under the Biden administration, the forced vaccination or coerced vaccination, the horrifying lockdown policies, the kill protocols, everything that came out of 2020. And it's interesting that in America, we elected essentially the guy who locked us down in the first place, thinking that he was going to come in and change things, especially with the installation of Bobby Kennedy Jr. at HHS. Everyone thought this was going to be a revolution. This was going to be, we were going to get the truth about the lies surrounding the pandemic. We were going to get the truth about the vaccines. We were going to take the mRNA shots off the market. We were going to hold accountable the people who deployed the kill protocols and the anti-human just authoritarianism that we saw. And interestingly enough, Jeremy, like nothing has happened. Like there, and we have
did
all
you expect something?
problems.
But did you expect something to happen?
Well, I didn't.
Like you?
No, I never did. And you know, this is why I'm somewhat of a pariah in America. I mean, I've built a very large platform. I'm independent, so I'm not left or right. I think that both political parties are horrifyingly corrupt, but I really believe it. A lot of people will say that word. You'll see people, uniparty, and they'll say that they believe that the two parties are working together in tandem to push a anti-liberty and technocratic agenda. But, you know, without fail, every 4 years, every 2 years, when there's an election, 6 months before the election, and then 3 months before the election, they all line up into their columns, and then they all begin to repeat the old tropes of the partisan divide, and they shuffle into the voting booth, and they pull their levers. It's a pageant here in the U.S. for one side or the other. And so we continue to be mired in this process, even though our rhetoric as a culture has changed a bit. We are still kind of in this lock grip of the two-party political paradigm that we cannot get out. It's a death spiral because I believe, Jeremy, that absolutely the parties work together. They work in tandem, and we have more of actors in our country than anything else. So, I mean, your president literally is he's a TV show host. Oh, Jeremy, I believe that what we're witnessing is literally reality TV, loosely scripted reality TV. And Donald Trump is not, he doesn't have power, and he's a puppet actor. He's installed, he's, you know, and so nothing, I mean, the insanity of what we're seeing in the US, I mean, we are devolving into a banana republic. Our government has been shut down for a month, and I don't know that they'll ever really open it again, because all of the larger mechanisms, a shutdown doesn't really mean a shutdown in the US. It means certain non-essential, massive budgets, but non-essential agencies are not being funded because Congress cannot enact appropriations. So the money to pay for the things, among other things, you know, involved in a shutdown. Certain key elements of the government are never shut down. So all of those are still in place. They're still working, 75%. I don't know if my percentages are on and off, but 75% of the government is still functioning. But now they have this nice little slush fund on the side, right? The perfect example, Donald Trump just got a private benefactor to pony up $130 million to pay the military in the U.S. And our military personnel got their paychecks on October 15th, which they weren't supposed to, from a private benefactor. Meaning essentially in the U.S., we have the equivalent of a mercenary military force. We have it's like the mafia. It's, we have private entities, no congressional oversight, no transparency, and it's unclear who they work for. I mean, you work for the person who pays you. So now we, the people, aren't paying our military anymore. It's coming from private benefactors. It's insane. It's insane.
What do you think is going on?
I think we're witnessing a coup d'etat in the U.S., a second. Trump initiated the first with the lockdowns of 2020. That was a military operation. That was a DOD operation.
Yes, yes. People don't realize that, by the way.
It's because Maha, again, was just psyop over psyop over psyop, layered and intertwined. And so Maha came in. I believe that Maha is a psyop. I believe that MAGA is a psyop. The medical freedom community, in my opinion, was infiltrated and redirected through Maha. And tragically, Bobby Kennedy Jr., who was a champion for 20 years and achieved an enormous amount. But he made the decision to align with Donald Trump and enter the belly of the beast, which is Washington.
But don't you think he meant well? But don't you think he meant well?
They all do. They all do.
Mm.
They all do. It's a hubris that is very human, right? And it's something that we have seen throughout human history. This is nothing new. If you go back 5,000 years in human history, you will find, I'm a Christian. I believe in Christ. I've read my Bible 3 times, from the book of Revelations from Genesis to the book of Revelations, in multiple versions and translations. And you go back into, the beginning of human history, and these same types of things play out, right? It begins with human hubris, meaning, well, I'm going to be the guy that can go in and shake things up. I'm going to have the moral clarity and the ability to do things. And they all go in thinking that they just need this power in order to do X, Y, and Z. But invariably, they go in. The dirty little secret is that you can't get to Washington, D.C. unless you compromise severely. And most people, you have to do one bad thing after another. You have to tell one lie after another. And we watched Bobby Kennedy Jr. begin to lie to his constituency from the very beginning. From his very first speech, he wouldn't even say the word vaccine. His very first speech, ending his campaign and lining up with President Trump, I don't even believe mentioned COVID-19 vaccine or COVID.
But it was also, do you remember how he was speaking with a forked tongue? He said that the measles vaccine was the best way to treat measles, and then Children's Health Defense kind of they distanced themselves from that statement, and then he had to do damage control and so on and so forth.
Oh, that was just the beginning. That was just the beginning. Now Bobby Kennedy Jr. testified in front of a joint committee hearing about 2 months ago and said, I'm paraphrasing here, my goal is to have every American citizen on a wearable device in 4 years. Yes,
so, I remember.
They want to use AI technology to create 500 new, well, not these are two separate. They want to use AI technology to create new forms of vaccines to
But that's
treat
Stargate.
cancer. Yeah, that's Stargate. There are 5, not only is the COVID vaccine still on the market, the poisoned bioweapon is still being distributed through HHS and promoted by HHS to pregnant women and babies, by the way. That was a lie when they said that they were changing their recommendations. They are not. It's ambiguous, it's confusing, and they're still recommending the COVID vaccine for every person in an at-risk category, which includes every pregnant woman. They are defined as at risk, and also 75% of the population of children in the U.S. because they have asthma, allergies, ADHD, any version of adverse event. So they're lying, they're playing games, and, they're also developing and fast tracking more than 500 new mRNA technologies right now. And so Jay Bhattacharya, not a single penny from NIH, that's our National Institute of Health, not a single penny to study the mechanisms of harm from a vaccine. They are absolutely abandoning the vaccine injured. They won't even acknowledge the vaccine injured. They won't acknowledge COVID vaccine injuries, but they're pumping billions and billions into the development of new mRNA technologies, aerosolized vaccines,
But
you
Shannon,
name it.
Shannon, come on. We all know it's 5D chess. We know this because Q told us.
No, Jeremy, no. I mean, I think in the US, we might, aside from China, we're probably the most propagandized culture on the face of the planet. It's insane. QAnon, psyop. And, by the way, I called that out. Jeremy, your audience will love this about me. I'm that girl. I'm the girl who's going to tell you those pants make your butt look big, right? Like, not to be a jerk. I want you to look good, right? I want you to look good in your jeans, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it, right? And so I told my audience, now, as I mentioned, I'm a Christian, I'm a conservative, I have Christian conservative values. I believe in liberty, though. I believe people should have the right to worship in the way that they want, as long as they're not, encroaching on our civil liberties. And so when I started my career as a talk radio host on AM talk radio, out of I kid you not, a double wide trailer in a cornfield in the Finger Lakes region of New York, that's where I started. And so I'm like, yeah, this is going to be great. I'm going to be a radio host. I'm a Republican. I'm a conservative. They just have bad messaging. I've been in marketing and advertising. I'm going to help message this because it's so easy to sell when people really, little did I know, it was all a total fraud. I figured out it was the Uniparty about 2 years into my show after paying attention, watching multiple cycles. But when Donald Trump came down the elevator, the golden elevator, and I'm a New Yorker and he's a New Yorker. When he came down that golden elevator and was like, I'm running for president and all of the things, I was like, this guy is a con man. He is a New York City liberal Democrat, borderline sociopath. I mean, the guy will lie to your face. He's like, there's no way this is going to work. And I said that 10 years ago. And I feel like I'm Alice and I've went down the rabbit hole and things have just gotten crazier because I never thought they would buy Donald Trump to begin with. I'm like, this is ridiculous. He's a reality TV star. This is not real. But lo and behold, the psyops are so powerful and sophisticated.
But I mean, hold on. The counter argument that I've heard a few times is that, well, he's better than Kamala Harris and Joe Biden for that matter.
Yeah, that's a tactic. That is a diversion and a tactic. And it instructs us as humans to choose the lesser of the two evil. So, yes.
But they're all middle management anyway.
Well, yeah. But the thing is that, if you choose the lesser of two evils for an extended period of time, you end up with just plain evil because it only descends. So, yes, my guy is a demon, but your guy is a worse demon. And so then the apparatus instructs us to choose from the two demons. And then we have to compromise our values. In order to play the game, we have to compromise what we believe as humans and what our principles are. Because we hate the other side, or we fear the other side, or we're in a full-scale cult on our side. And so this paradigm of the false choice is incredibly damaging and eroding. And I think we are at kind of the bottom phases of the cynicism and the lies and the distortions and the corruption and the evil. Donald Trump just a couple days ago posted an AI meme of him in a plane with a crown on his head, a video dumping feces all over the United States of America. And the protesters, people who, they're liberal Democrats at the No Kings rally, primarily, but they were exercising their God-given natural right to express their opinions about government. They were exercising their right to free speech. And they were peaceful, by the way. And I went to a No Kings rally, by the way, and there was no Antifa. Yeah, there was no Antifa. There was no violence. There were no blue hairs. I didn't see any LGBTQ at all. They looked just like you and me. They looked like the protests that I led 4 years ago when the government was locking down. So their trick, and it's a trick, and when I say it's sophisticated, I mean that it's sophisticated because they get us to make false choices by frightening us and scaring us and dividing us from the other side. But it's the equivalent of choosing between Satan and Lucifer, stage 4 cancer or a heart attack. Those are the choices that they're giving us. And they always start with, well, he's better than Kamala. Okay, that is low level thinking. And anyone who thinks that way has failed Politics 101. They've just failed. Because that's BS, right? Like, in a sane world, you can say this person aligns more with my values than that person, right? But we're just saying this person is less evil than my person. We need to reject that. The culture needs to reject that.
You sound quite jaded, though.
I mean, who wouldn't be? I'm completely jaded. But Jeremy, I'm such a Pollyanna. It's a duality for me, right?
Yes.
Because I believe that we can have a bright future. I believe that humanity can persist. I believe that we can break out of this. I know that because...
Well, that's the question. How?
Okay. And this is why I sound jaded and cynical. In order for us to do the things that we necessarily have to do as a species of humans and as a culture in our countries, you're in Africa, I'm in the United States, you spent some time in China. Each country is going to have to figure this out on their own. And here in the US, each state is going to have to figure this out on its own, and each family. It's going to come down to the individual, the family unit, the locality, your local government, to fix these things, because they are playing for keeps. They put this in motion. It's happening. We can't stop it. And there's no party that's going to save us. Politics will not save us. Donald Trump won't save us. Biden won't save us. Kamala won't save us, right? But in order to realize that, you have to acknowledge how corrupt they are in the first place. And that's where the cynicism comes in, right? It's like, you've got to acknowledge that these people are vicious predators. that you can't get into a position of power unless you're a sociopath or a psychopath at this point, I believe. It wasn't always the case. There are wonderful examples of good governments who did their jobs correctly. But we also know that every government eventually will become corrupted. Every institution, because they're man-made, will eventually become corrupted. So it is our job, wherever we are in history, and this is cyclical. It's not, oh, this is the worst time in human history. Believe me, like the fall of Rome was pretty bad. Nazi Germany was pretty bad. We've had lots of worse times in human history where evil escapes in just a breathtaking way and takes the lives of millions, if not billions of people. We are at war, but it's not country versus country. It isn't D versus R. It is humanity versus these various power structures who have been able to accumulate so much power. But they don't have that much power. They need our consent. We have to play ball. And so the way to win is to stop playing ball. I don't know that I will vote in another election, Jeremy. I'm not sure that I will. The culture is doing amazing things. Our culture revolted against the lockdowns, and we were able to wrestle ourselves out of lockdown. And here in the US, 35 to 40% of Americans refuse the shots, okay? That's our lesson. We're in the next phase. It's going to be economic and digital tyranny. And our job is to find each other as a culture, help each other, share information, refuse to be afraid, refuse to fall into the false political paradigms, and then refuse to comply and give them our consent. I'm not going to give you a digital ID. I'm going to use cash. I'm going to spend only 2 hours on my phone every day and spend the rest of the time outside with my family. I'm going to embrace analog and humanity. And yeah, certain people might want to do the whole tech thing. Move to Shanghai if you want to do the tech thing, right? If you want to live in a technocracy, go for it, right? But we don't have to do this. We have choices as humans. And it always comes down to a choice.
I've said many times, in fact, I was actually saying to you just before we started recording that one of the reasons why I love living on the African continent, South Africa more specifically, is how backward we are.
I love it. I love it.
So, we have such a useless, broken, infrastructural, inept government that it'll take many, many more years for us to catch up with all this technocratic New World Order nonsense that's happening, on your side of the world. And
you don't have to. You don't have to.
What do you mean?
You guys don't have to catch up. I don't see technocracy or techno-fascism as catching up. I see it as devolving. It is a devolving and a retarded humanity. I would say you are probably more highly elevated. I would look at a tribe in Africa and say that you're more highly elevated.
Who are those people in your country that live off the grid? What are they called now?
The Amish. We have the Amish and the Mennonite cultures, and they're growing. And they
are ahead of the curve. They're completely ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. The Amish live. So I live in the Finger Lakes region of New York State, about, I would say, 3-4 hours from northern Pennsylvania, which is, settled by the Dutch and Amish country. So we have Amish and Mennonites all over rural New York State and Pennsylvania. And they don't use electricity. They don't use modern medicine. They don't use credit cards, nothing digital. It's all, they're, insulated communities. But let me tell you, they come out. We have farm markets. The Mennonites are kind of an offshoot of the Amish. And they just live. I mean, they've got it made, right? Like, they just live within their communities. They don't play ball with the technology. And I don't think all technology is bad. I like technology. But it has to work for me, the human. If it doesn't work for me, then fuck you. I'm not going to use it. That's kind of my mindset. And I'm not going to, as best I can, I'm not going to take your digital ID. I'm just not going to play ball. And so our job is to just throw wrenches in everything, set up parallel economies, refuse to comply, organize locally, just throw a million wrenches because they're not nearly as powerful as we think they are. And I don't think they're as nearly as technologically advanced as we think they are.
Yes, I think you're right. I have a similar view to you. I don't buy the narrative that they are all just, super beings. That, they're all just, they're all ahead of the curve. No, they're also humans and they're also stupid. Many of them.
Yes, they are.
And they make terrible decisions.
Yeah. I mean, look at Peter Thiel. He looks like a corpse. I'm 100% certified organic human. Okay. And if you put me up next to Peter Thiel, he looks like Skeletor. His face is set. Look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk does not look healthy. Donald Trump does not look healthy. The majority of the people running things look horrifying. And that's just from a casual observation. So they want us to believe this is the wave of the future and that AI is going to control everything and that robots are going to run the world. They're not. They're not. Robots are fine. They can do certain things. They're not. AI can only exist with human intelligence. AI needs us. AI can't do anything without humans. And when it's challenged, it falls apart. I mean, here in the US, and see, we're moving into the economic meltdown, but here in the US, the wheels are falling off of the AI jalopy. Big time. Big time. Everyone knows about the NVIDIA, Intel, Magnificent Seven circular investment strategy, which is basically, I mean, there's no there there. They're not making any money. None of them are profitable except for NVIDIA. And the AI is falling apart. They're being sued for copyright infringement, and you can't take people's human creations. And so the AI is getting weaker and weaker and weaker, and people are now wise to how much data is being collected on them, and so people are opting out of a lot of things. So it's definitely becoming more evident that there's really no there. And people are going to, I think, we're going to be asked to choose either a global technocracy or versions of global technocracy in each of our countries or not. We need to say no. And if enough of us say no, then humanity will flourish for the next 100 years.
But do you think enough will say no, though?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you aren't all that jaded.
No, we don't need that many. You literally, and the vaccines fell apart. No one's getting vaccinated in the US anymore. Like, women aren't vaccinating their children. Like, hide your wives, hide your kids. Like, the vaccine narrative is completely falling apart. And that is because of the COVID vaccine. And that is because 35% of the American population fucking refused. They're like, you can throw me in prison and I'm not going to take that vaccine. You can take my job. My mother and my sister were both fired from their non-medical jobs for not taking the vaccine, right? People lost so much. But now, so here, what do you have? A minority of Americans just saying, screw you, we're not doing it. Everything falls apart. The exact same thing can happen with technocracy. And you don't even need 35%. 10 to 15%. If 10 to 15% of humanity says, we're not going to play, and not playing could mean not taking a digital ID or using any of the government-sponsored digital currencies, right? That might be tricky. It's scary. We're gonna have to figure. We're not gonna know how this is gonna shake out, right? They might collapse the economy. They might collapse the internet. They might push us into, World War III with nuclear weapons, which will probably be like dropping nukes in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and play act. I don't even believe there are wars anymore. Like there's so much theater out there that I could see that, and they kill enough people with shots, right? They don't wipe out humanity with guns and tanks. That's way too messy. They just use the tip of a needle these days.
Hold on, Shannon. Something that has bugged me for a while, though, and maybe your observation is different. But now that the COVID era, quote unquote, is over, people around me seem to have gone back into their slumber. Have you noticed? Have you noticed the same thing?
Yes. Yeah, that's part of the psyop. And you also, it's very hard to be heightened like this for an extended period of time. I think you and I are crazy. For sure. Yeah, like I've been like this my entire for 10 years.
And I also want to add to what you're saying earlier about Trump as an outsider. One of the things that impressed me about his second term is how he brought millions and millions of people back into the system.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a Svengali like messaging that is, I marvel at it. It's extraordinary. Trump.
This is why millions of people make excuses the whole time for him, because their ideological like for him, excuse the pun, trumps what that the fact that he actually is just middle management and he's part of the machine.
Right. He's been set up as a hero, and they do this. Really good example of this is the Charlie Kirk assassination and the deification of the victims. Now, Charlie Kirk is a victim. I'm not saying that I'm not going to make any statements about that assassination and what I think about it. But
well, you're welcome to.
I don't need more trouble. Okay, I don't need more trouble. But Trump began this with the raid on Mar-a-Lago and all of the lawsuits and the perp walks and the handcuffs. Right? It's victim casting, right? And you pile that onto the fact that they're traumatized, right? How do people get pulled into a cult? How do they get pulled into the psyop or into mass formation psychosis? We understood how that happened during COVID, right? People were terrified that they were going to die from this deadly pandemic that is killing everyone. And what did they use? They used bots and trolls on the internet. They used paid influencers. They use left-wing news media. They use right-wing news media. They use social media. They had already gathered an enormous amount of psychographic data and demographic data via social media on every one of us. So you and I we both have like a digital avatar out there. It's a copy of us. It's a digital copy. And they have information, and they know what makes me tick, and they know what makes you tick. They know your fear triggers. Your fear triggers are different than my fear triggers. They know what makes you happy, what spurs the dopamine. They know your religious values, your financial situation, right? They don't have everything, but they know enough. And what they do is they tailor the messaging via the bots and trolls and the algorithms to traumatize us. Okay, and the emotional reaction is very real. We're in the simulation. What they're delivering to us is very fake, and it's synthetic. But what we're feeling is very real, and so then we act out from that, and that is why people literally put 7 masks on their face and wore filthy rags over their nose and mouth for like 2 years. That is why people locked themselves in their homes. That's why people allowed their loved ones to die alone, isolated, and tormented in nursing homes because they were so terrified. And so then when you're in that state, what do you need? You need a hero. You need someone to save you, right? And so then they come in. What exactly? They come in and they set up your hero. But the hero isn't really a hero. It's part of the simulation. And so it's that cycle of trauma-based. 9/11 was trauma-based fear control, but it was very real. An assassination of Charlie Kirk is trauma-based fear control on a mass level. And you're seeing now the deification of Charlie Kirk. People worship him. They align him like Jesus Christ, and they will demand that fascism, is deployed, or tyranny is deployed in order to avenge Charlie Kirk. Now we're going to watch this play out with the Democrat Party right now, because the Democrat Party, all of the people you saw at No Kings, and they were probably geofencing at No Kings. They were probably gathering data on every single person that turned out. Millions, about not hundreds, but tens of millions, I believe, turned out. And I went to one. They're right now in the process of the trauma-based fear, or the fear-based trauma control of the Democrats. I believe these are my assumptions, and they will be so frightened of what Trump is going. And that's why Trump dumps feces on them, and that's why they poke them and they terrify them. And he does all these crazy radical things. They're going to elevate for the Democrats, likely, if the two-party thing is fun. There's cracks in it, right? If the Democrats fall for it, they will elevate a new Democrat anti-hero that will suck up all of their energy and distract all of them, and then they'll demand fascism so that their anti-hero can come and be our anti-hero. But really what's happening at the end of the day is they're working together, and we're just descending deeper into the abyss. The answer is human, is being human, and knowledge is the first step. Like, my children know when they go on the internet that when they open up an app, and my 17-year-old daughter actually just on her own deleted her TikTok app, which I thought was fascinating. But my kids, I have a 19, 17, and 13-year-old. They know when they go into the app, the question they should say is, what does this app want me to think today? How does this app want me to feel today? What algorithms are being deployed at me when I go on Twitter or Facebook or Truth Social or TikTok or Instagram or or Rumble or any of the right-wing, what is it that how do they want me to feel? And then it's a constant. Once you have that antenna up, it'll never come down. It'll never come down. And you'll start to see these things very fast. Like, I can spot these things in a millisecond at this point, because I've been trained to. I've trained myself to. Everyone can do that, and people do that instinctively as well. And so, I'm pretty confident that there's going to be a backlash against everything technocratic, because it's fucking crazy. It's crazy. And no one wants it.
Shannon, do you think, though, that... How do I ask this question? Okay. Do you think that we are part of a type of Luddite percentage of the population who just doesn't like progress?
No, not at all. Technology isn't progress. And technology has been around since the beginning of human history. And every 100 years, some new technological advance comes around, and they say, this is the way that it's going to be, and now things are different. Humanity hasn't changed ever. Humans are exactly the same as they have always been. And what do we do? We're born, we learn something, we grow up, go to school, learn, we fall in love, we get married, we have children, we plant gardens, we build houses, we live, we have emotions, we throw graduation parties and weddings and all of the things. We live. We will always do that. Go back to the Old Testament, read the Old Testament. They do all the same things that we do. There is corruption, there's greed, there are bad people in every culture, in every time in human history. And in every time we have technological advances it ends up wiping out a ton of people who are, who fall into the trap. And then we adjust, we acclimate, we accept, we take the things of the new developments and the technologies that we like, that work for humans, and we throw the rest out. And we've done that forever. So to me, it's not Luddite. Human thinking is elevated so far above technocratic thinking. And anyone who tries to lie and say that that is not the case, they're deceiving you. They're absolutely deceiving you.
But why do you think that it's the minority of people that are pushing back?
Because everything happens in the margins. All the movements, everything happens in the margins of humanity. Everything. Gideon's army is a great example in the Old Testament. They beat a massive army with like 300 men. And God purposefully wanted Gideon's army to be small because he wanted them to rely on him, on God, right? To give them that victory. But, recent history, the Revolutionary War, most Americans didn't care whether we were under King George or whether we had a republic. They didn't care. It was the margins. On the periphery is where these battles are fought. So you and I are on the periphery, right? And the wins and the losses come in the margins. And then the rest of the culture is just going to move the way they always do. The 80% is they're always, there's a reason that Christ called them the sheep, right? It is not derogatory. It is not meant to be derogatory. It's that most people are built to kind of go with the flow. We're naturally, we want to be in groups. We want to be protected. We don't want to go out and fight these battles. We don't, and that's normal. And that's their calling. That's, one of the things I say to my audience every day is, from your own corner of the world, according to your unique talents and abilities, that's what you need to do, right? You got to get out and pursue truth, justice, thing, whatever it is, whether it's small or big, doesn't matter. Butterfly effect, ripple effect, all of it. It doesn't matter what you do. It all matters what you do, I guess is kind of a funny way of saying it. But I've gotten over this nonsense of, well, we got to get everyone to wake up. We need everyone to understand this. We need to go and tell everyone about it. They don't want to hear it, right? And I'm also over this whole getting mad at people for not getting involved. They don't care. I live with a normie. My husband, he's a total normie.
Shame.
He is a rule follower. It's like, you wouldn't believe what I went through to keep him off the vaccine, man. He's like, everyone's going to get it. It's inevitable. And I went through really tough times, being mad at him, really mad at him. Why aren't you standing up? Why aren't you on a street corner, protesting with me? Why aren't you, and I had an epiphany at one point. I'm like, because he's not seeing things the way I'm seeing. He believes in the same things I believe, right? And he's perfectly okay with me doing what I do. He's just not built to go out there and do the things that I do. And you know what? That's okay. He's built to do other things. And he's been a very good stabilizing force for me, because if it weren't for my husband, I'd probably be in a commune in the middle of the country somewhere. I don't know. You know what I mean? Because I tend to go there, right? But we all play a role, and the normies play a role too. They keep things functioning. And so we got to stop. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. So I keep interrupting.
No, it's fine. I think I keep talking too much. So tell me if I'm
it's all good. Okay,
I can talk. Yeah.
Knowing what you know now in the year 2025, would you go back to 2019?
I mean, no, absolutely not. No, so many people have been awakened. And The journey has been painful. You know, we all have lost a lot. Those of us who have stood up. Sometimes I feel like a tortured artist. Like it tortures me, this whole thing. But at the same time, I see miracles. My faith in Christ has only increased. I mean, I had a faith crisis around the time of COVID. I've only grown in my relationship with the Lord. I've only grown in my relationship with Christ. And I would never go back, right? Like sometimes you have to go through these things. You have to go through these difficult things in order to get to that moment of peace, that time of peace. And we've seen those times in human history. I mentioned that it's cyclical, right? Like there are periods of peace. There are periods of prosperity. There are periods of enlightenment. And then there are dark periods too. And the story plays out over and over and over. And I think the key to figuring things out is just knowing where you are in the cycle and accepting it.
Yes.
Being okay with it.
Let me ask you an extension to that question. If you had more than one Damascus moment in your life, when would you say the first one was?
It's really interesting.
So let me help you a little bit. So my first real Damascus moment, red pill moment, I think would have been around 2009. I watched a documentary called The Great Global Warming Swindle. And for the first time, I held up a mirror to what I thought I knew about how things worked.
Right.
Funnily enough, that whole decade, I didn't question 9/11, not even once. And it was only... Yeah, it was only after, what do you call it, the 20 teens, that after 2010, before 2020, I don't know what you call that.
I don't know what we call it, the teens. Yeah, I don't know.
Teens.
You just nailed it. Well, I'll use that for now.
20 teens. That decade is when I started questioning lots of things. So so for me, 2009 was my first sort of Damascus moment, and then 2016. So when was yours?
Yeah, so I would say it was. I mean, I've had a few. That's the thing. That's why I paused, because there've been a few. If I were to go back to the very first one, it was post 9/11. George W. Bush, second, the end of his. Did he have 2 terms or 1? I don't remember. It was probably the end of his first term, and it was after. So same time, it was the 2008 housing collapse and that whole fraud. And then they went in and there was this announcement that the United States government, the federal government, took over Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae. And that was, essentially every mortgage in the United States of America. The government kind of took over. And I remember thinking, that's crazy. That's crazy. And then I started kind of pursuing, because at that point I was diehard George W. Bush. We need to go into Iraq. We need to go get the terrorists. All the Muslims are going to come get us. They're going to make us Sharia. I'm going to be a Muslim. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just bought into the whole thing.
He was the president that said, "Is our children learning?"
He fell for all of it. Hook, line, and sinker. I mean, this is why I can have a lot of grace for people who are in their process of waking up, right? And we have to have grace because all of us have been in the simulation. And it's, and it's unique experiences and observations. Like, the breaking out is so uniquely personal for every person that, it's not for me to say, you need to see this right now the way I see it. They just haven't seen it yet. What can I say? Now, my husband, by the way, for being a normie, devastatingly handsome Dr. Joy, that's his name. He is actually way more cynical now. And I would say I have definitely black pilled him a little bit, but also white pilled, right? I love the white pill. You have to take the black pill before you get to the white pill, which is a place of hope. right? That is where you get out and you say, okay, things are good. I look at the headlines today and the cycle moves really fast. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But I'm so disassociated from it now. I'm like, I come home, I make dinner. We plan our, the costumes for the Halloween party that we're going to go with our neighbors, right? Like, I make myself, I exist in their simulation for the purposes of defeating it using my platforms, right? And I got to know what's going on. And we all got to kind of know what's going on. But at the end of the day, we're all just living our lives, right? And people who have their computer lid shut and don't engage, they're so happy. They have no clue what's going on. They're thrilled. And honestly, it's very rare that the boots come marching down the street and they actually deploy this stuff. Like, COVID was crazy. But even in COVID, we didn't see tanks in the streets. They weren't really going house to house. They did. They came to my house, by the way. I was arrested during COVID for my mask coming under my nose. Yeah, at a school board meeting. It was insane. It was ridiculous. They sent the police to my house with 2 contact tracers to terrorize my children over quarantine orders. It was crazy. That was the closest we ever got to actual real, like, we're going to strap you down and we're going to shove it. Atrocities are happening, tyrannies are happening all over and all around. But that is very difficult for them to do. So I say, live your life, like, do the thing you need to do, but live your life to maintain your sanity. And then it's off to the races. And I think that we're going to break through this. I think we're in a 10-year thing, right? COVID started it. We're 5 years in. Now they're going to deploy the AI, the crypto, the economic trauma, and the digital trauma. That's this next 5 years. But we're going to win. We're going to win, Jerm, because I called you Jerm because you're Jerm Warfare. But because we have to.
Call me Jerm.
Yeah, because we have children. I don't know if you have children. I have kids.
I've got a little boy. Yeah.
That's why we do it. They need freedom. They need liberty. Period.
What's interesting is a friend of mine. He was a normie before 2020. You were talking about how people woke up, and the lockdowns are what suddenly made him realize something is wrong with everything.
So many people. Yeah.
I love, and I've said this multiple times, but I don't know if you saw my show that I did with Jessica Hockett, and if you haven't, I strongly recommend you go and watch it. She's great. So
Jessica Hockett. Okay.
Yeah. So she has spent years looking at the New York data from 2020, and basically what the hospitals were putting out and what aligns with reality, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, there was no pandemic, and the whole thing was a psyop. But she said on my show, I started out in 2020 looking at the New York hospital data, and I ended up asking, did we land on the moon? I think that right there, that summarizes everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it all ends with the aliens, right? I mean, every conversation always ends up with the aliens, right? It's so true. She nailed it. It's true. Like, you question everything. But what frightened me the most was when I started questioning my faith. And I didn't really question my faith and questioning God. That was the most frightening thing to me. And I didn't so much as I questioned the church and these institutions. They all locked down. Christians, people that were supposed to be my people, were like the worst of the worst.
And they recommended vaccines, many of them.
Oh my God. In my church, they were thanking God for the vaccines in morning prayers after they had been shut down, after they voluntarily shut down. That was such a crisis for me as a believer. And so that was the only thing that frightened me. But then, God reveals himself through scripture and through prayer and through faith, man, just trusting him even when it's dark. I mean, I almost lost my business. Again, I mentioned how I was arrested, handcuffed for a mask slipping beneath my nose. The school board meeting when I was trying to free the children.
Handcuffed, really?
Handcuffed, yeah. It's a great picture. I mean, now it's funny. It was horrifying at the time. My husband was horrified, again, the normie. My children were horrified. It was at their school. And they're like, what did you do? What did you do? The entire community. It was horrifying, utterly horrifying. I can laugh about it now, but, so there were so many things when it was just black. When I would come on my radio show, I had a radio show at the time. Now I have a podcast. I'm live every day, right? I've got to say something. I can't hide. And, but there were days when I would I think I cried the first 6 months of COVID lockdown, because I knew the second it happened that nothing was ever going to be the same. I knew that something had cracked, was in motion, and that my life would never be the same. I knew it. And so I went through this period of mourning, deep, deep mourning. I started smoking again. So I'm smoking like a troll in my basement, crying, smoke. I'm like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. And I gave that up again. I'm off the cigarettes. But it was that difficulty, though, drew me so much closer to God, so much closer to God. And now, man, I don't know if there's anything that could shake my faith. There's nothing. I know that there's a natural God. I know that he created us, because no technology is as majestic, sophisticated, or complicated as what he created, nature and humanity. And the fact that we can create life as humans, that I can have babies, like, it's just miraculous. It's miraculous. Then you look at technology and it's like, oh my gosh, this is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, it doesn't even hold a candle. And they try to create life. They can't do it. It's just, so the journey has been wonderful. Traumatic, torturing, but at the end of the day, wonderful. And the more miracles I see, when you're out on a limb the way that we are, where you're like, I don't know what to say. I don't know where the money is going to come from. I'm going to lose my career. All of these things that are necessary when you're standing up and speaking out in truth. Then you're so far out on a limb with God that you see miracle. I see miracles. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, when something goes wrong these days, I'm like, that's your problem. God, I'm like, go take care of that, God, because I can't. I don't know what to do. And he does, So I guess that's my story at this moment. And I'm excited to watch other people wake up and us move into a place of truth. We can do it.
That's a great way to end the conversation. Okay, Shannon, how can my audience follow you?
So best way to, get everything would probably be my website. People can support my work. I'm independent. So outside of the political paradigm, so independent contributions and, bottom up crowdsourcing is always important. So they can go to my website, theshannonjoy.com. It's theshannonjoy.com. And you can access my daily show. But I'm live every day at noon. So I'm on Rumble, Twitter, Freely TV, Roku TV, Apple TV. I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Substack. And if you just search Shannon Joy or Shannon Joy Radio, that's my handle on most of those accounts. And but the website's probably the best hub to get everything in, to get linked up with everything.
Shannon, I can't believe I'm going to say the dad joke, but it has been a joy.
Oh, that's my real name, by the way. People think it's a stage name. That is my middle name. Yes, my real name. Yep. Now, luckily for anonymity, people can find out my last name if they want. But no, my mother named me Shannon Joy. It's on my birth certificate, and I appreciate it. No, it's a great middle name.
I think so. Yeah. Well, yes, I agree. And by the way, it has been an absolute pleasure after so many years. I think you should come back, but not after as many years. A whole lot sooner than that. But for now, Shannon, thank you for joining me in the trenches.
Oh, I would love. That's amazing, and I would love to reciprocate and have you back. I'd like to hear your journey. I love how you interview. My show is like very news, right? And this is so fun. I was on with Yeah, I love that style of podcast. It's not my style, but I wish it was sometimes. I've just kind of fallen into what mine is, but it is a joy. I'm really glad we were able to do this, and I hope to collaborate with you a lot more in the future.